start, want me to break down that question that you asked?
Yeah, good.
Let me real quick just, I know there's some folks that want to add comment, so Karen, you had your hand up first, Karen?
I am
in the
here,
back row.
mostly for hockey.
Would you please stand and name and address, Karen, please?
Sure, I'm Karen Chauvin, 7 Windsor Road, and I'm president of Massena Minor Hockey. I've had the pleasure of being the president for the past 5 years, and during those years, I've had the pleasure of working very closely with Rich, scheduling the ice slots for all of our minor hockey teams. I might add that the only ice slot that went out to the mall this year was one team, one time a week, because of the problems with the mall's ice. The ice at the arena is top-notch. The staff at the arena is top-notch. Nikki is top-notch. She is a fabulous addition to that staff. The only problem that I've encountered with all of our scheduling and everything else is that there's not an 8th day in each week. I'd be able to fill every slot of every day with the ice. All of my teams want to be at the arena for every practice. They want to be there for every game, and unfortunately, we can't accommodate that. Here I am shaking. I don't want to shake. We must be doing something right. If any of you watched the Frozen Four and watched Matt Hatch and his Union College Dutchmen win their championship, it was absolutely amazing. Our very own Bobby Smith has a whole sleeve of state championship patches. I tell him now we have to start on the other sleeve. He's taken teams from our minor hockey program, our St. Lawrence Thunder teams, to the national tournaments for the past 5 years. It is unbelievable. He has placed second in that tournament for the last 3 years. This year we also had our midget team coached by Josh Bartell go to the national tournament. We too returned home with the silver medal. It's unbelievable. I was in Las Vegas this week for my older son's national tournament, and a boy from El Paso, Texas, noticed John Paul's jacket, asked if he was from that team in northern New York. He had played up here years ago, and he had been coached by Josh Bartell. Fond memories. It is unbelievable what this hockey community is all about. And of course, our Massena varsity hockey team brought home the state championship this year. We could not have done it without all of the ice slots at the Massena Arena. So to think that you are negotiating with Dick's Sporting Goods to come in here and change all of that is absolutely ludicrous, Jimmy. Absolutely ludicrous. Whenever school is closed or we have an early dismissal, the first words out of my son's mouth and all of his buddies is, "What time does shinny start?" Rich can't get them in there early enough, and then they stay until they have practice or whatever. It is a great environment for our youth of this community, a positive environment, and you cannot take that away. It's a community gathering place for events other than hockey. We've already talked about the frog jumping contest and everything else. And that parking lot is always overflowing. So to even get into discussions with a retail outlet that has nothing to do with Massena other than wanting to get rich on our money is absolutely ludicrous. And Jimmy, you thought that your tattoo and pitbull comments tarnished your image? You close that arena, your political career is over.
Let me set this record straight for you, Karen. That was Plan A that came to us. We asked for a Plan B right away. Okay, so I'm going to set this record straight on that. And I do take pride in my pitbull and tattoo. But anyhow, it's a joint commission. Okay, I don't have the authority to make that decision because it is a joint commission between the town and the village. Okay, so the arena, in our opinion, wasn't going anywhere.
Well, that's funny. We keep quoting the newspaper, but that was a lot of what the comments were in the newspaper. We can't even take the annex away. That annex is being used all the time too.
No,
That's the question we need to, for how we should broach that tonight, is the Plan B out there, at the annex, but.
That's why I think we're here tonight to discuss that very thing. But before we get, anyone else have anything to say? Seeing no other hands? Okay. Go ahead.
just a couple things, and not so much about recreation, when it comes down to the budget, as much as the split, and the 60-40 split that we've been using for recreation, and it's been touched on in the paper, and other media, about how we arrive at that number when it comes to assessment. And that the village's 60% typically does not include the portion of the village that's in the town of Louisville, what we call West Massena. And as we all know, the assessment there is pretty significant. And as a town board, I think I can speak for everyone when I say that we feel that we believe it's inappropriate for residents of West Massena to, in essence, get a free ride on recreation. What the rationale we've been told from some of the village staff is that, well, you know, the village covers all the administrative costs for recreation, for the employees, for other aspects of the recreation operation. And that was the reason that West Massena was never included in the assessment split. If that, I guess, is the rationale, then I think we need to include those administrative costs in the recreation budget, and then include West Massena assessment in the assessment split when we talk about the 60-40. I just think it's unfair, and perhaps, I'm not a lawyer or an expert on municipal financing, perhaps illegal for folks, residents of West Massena, the village residents in the town of Louisville, to pay nothing, virtually nothing, nothing, I guess is the right word, toward recreation. They're in essence getting a free skate, and it's just not fair to other residents of the village who happen to be in the township, as well as residents of the town outside the village. We've made an informal request, informal inquiry to the comptroller's office. They believe that if the Joint Commission, when it was founded, when it was established, said it's going to be split between the village and the town, and the village includes all of the village, including West Massena, including the portion that's in the town of Louisville. So we believe that the only fair way to, and I think we were talking several, people are going to say, oh, it's only several percentage points. It's going to be, you know, 63, 37 or something like that. But it amounts to real money. And we also believe that cooperative agreements should share the burden, share the benefits and also share the burden. And we think it's unfair to residents of the town of Massena to expect that people who happen to be in the town of Louisville and also within the village boundary don't pay toward recreation. So we would, I guess, like to request that we include, I don't want to say demand, strongly request that we include West Massena assessment in when it comes time to speak to the 60-40, whatever, the appropriate split in the cost of recreation.
And if I may, just is the little baseball field in the back and the soccer.
I'm taking point against
Okay.
that.
I'm just saying, that could probably be, and this is discussion, okay? This is discussion.
Wouldn't
Okay.
the concerns you're bringing up be handled through the planning and zoning boards?
Well,
You
first
would
of all,
have to be.
let me say this to you, before we can do anything at all, we have to go to legislation, because it's protected under the New York State parks. Okay, so we have to get the legislators to
That
agree.
property is?
Yes, it is.
They think that there's a parks and recreation restriction on it, which means you would need special legislation if the village town ordinance was.
And then the money you get from it has to go back into parks. I think that's, when the money goes back, it can't just go in the general fund, it has to go back to
Right,
parks.
and I think, which would only make sense if we did that, right? You would take the money, whatever money is garnered from that, if we said tomorrow, yeah, you know what, we can fix everything else, we're gonna sell it. We obviously, I would not be in favor of using the money anywhere but recreation, to replace replacement fields, et cetera.
If, assuming that the planning and zoning does their job and make sure that whoever develops this does it right, like we try to do with everything that's done in Massena. So we can't go into this assuming that they're gonna build this thing wrong. Let's not assume that, because
That's
if
correct.
we did that, we wouldn't have built Walmart, we wouldn't have built Home Depot,
Exactly.
we wouldn't have built all those buildings. Okay, so I think we should forget about that. The question is then, okay, can we do something with that to mitigate losing that property? You know, the big question is, what's it worth? Okay, if we get $800,000 or $1 million, and it has to all go back to the recreation, from what you're saying, can we build an annex for less than $1 million? I don't know.
I hope so. Like the hell, yeah, I'd like to think so.
Okay.
Probably have a couple, you know, parks.
Right,
whatever.
so if we can do all this stuff, it all sounds win-win to me, why would we say we don't wanna try to do both?
We're not even gonna talk about it, but some people say, we don't wanna talk about it, we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, we got a new, better annex somewhere else. We've got soccer fields somewhere else. We've got tons of land in Massena, New York.
Little stop.
Or retail
Somewhere
store,
else.
somewhere else.
Let's think
Put a
about it.
retail store somewhere else.
Okay, all right, let's,
One thing I'd like to say on it is,
hold on.
Dick's Sporting Goods could be a very big economic benefit for Massena.
like I said, when they be very careful when a developer comes into your community and wants to do something great for you. Because a developer is out there for one person and one person only, the developer.
I
So
know,
regardless,
I know,
he
Francis,
has,
but
let me finish, let me finish.
we can't
He
turn
can
them
promise
away
you the moon.
either.
We had the guys down by they built the first original Walmart, they promised the moon down there, oh, it was gonna be everything, they wanted everything for nothing. They got what they wanted, and then they turned around afterwards and it was dumped on the village's lap. Same thing when they built the mall down there. The developer came in, you run into a little bit of problems, now they pump water downhill to get a fire system. But anyways, that's what developers do. They come into a community, they maximize their profit, and then they leave this area. 10 years later, they've sold out, they're gone. Mr. Wax has a lot of acreage behind the Hart Haven, behind the Central Tractor, all the way up to the railroad track. He owns all that land in there. If he is so interested and wants to get this in so bad, he can put a road in there tomorrow and start developing tomorrow. If that's the most important, if that's the thing that he wants to do. But it's gonna cost him a few bucks to do it.
Francis,
He
based on
wants
what
to
you're
come in-
saying, I
he
think we
wants
should
to come in
defund the
and
BDC
He wants to come
tonight.
in and rob the community.
I think we should defund the BDC tonight. Ben. Just revoke the charter. Why have them work on anything? Because there's gonna be risk in everything. There's gonna be a lot of risk in everything that they try to do. And if we think we're gonna enter any of this shit without any risk, we're crazy.
To clarify, John, though, I mean, this is nothing we initiated.
I know that, but you're working on trying to get developers in here, aren't you?
Yeah, well, we're trying to get something here.
Yeah, so developers are bad, so we don't need you guys anymore.
Okay, hold on, please. If I can,
My question
ma'am,
is,
you stand, state your name, please. Address?
Kathy, and I'm at 29 Windsor. The question is, why would Dick's want to take land away from the people that will be purchasing from them? Now, my son, who has just learned about this today, said, forget it, Mom, I'll never shop at Dick's again. So that's my question. All of these people that are going to be their eventual customers are going to be taking their clients, the soccer players, the softball players, the hockey players, everybody who lacrosse players, all those people who would be shopping at Dick's, and they're not going to say, we're not shopping at Dick's. They'll be just as happily shop at that land behind Tractor Supply. They don't want to give up that land.
Even if you can build a better annex and a better field, they don't wanna give it up.
It's not about that. Right now, it's about the space that where you're going to have the 6 and under youth soccer players play while you build a new field. Those kids just don't play that year? That's my question to you.
No, wait a minute, no, hold on, please, hold on. Ma'am, first of all, to address where they're gonna play, we have Alcove Field. We've got the Peak Field over here on, what street is that? They've got Bushnell. We've got, you know, so to say that we wouldn't accommodate them, what's happening here, we've got a dying community,
Correct.
okay? Dying community that needs revenue, okay?
No doubt.
Needs revenue in here, okay? This place is gonna create jobs, okay? Decent jobs, okay? It's also gonna give tax revenue back to the village and the town. Okay, but let me just finish, okay? We're acting on emotion here, you know? Find something, someplace else to put the thing. So then we put it over here. Well, don't put it over there because, we got a sand pit over there. Well, don't put it over here because we got wetlands over there. You know, so where do you put it? You know, where do you put it? You put it where it's gonna service the community at its best. We're acting on emotion here, first of all, okay? That arena's still gonna be there. It's not just the arena, you're right. But to put a soccer field, we can put a soccer field and a baseball field wherever, anywhere. We've got tons of property here. Let me say this to you. There are communities out there, John Horn can attest to this, and a couple others, where there's a massive park, and all there is just one huge thing in the middle where it's concession, bathrooms, this, that, and the other. There's soccer over here, there's softball over here, there's baseball over there, and whatever's over here, okay? So communities do this. They build around, okay? That's the new concept now, is you know, put it in a central location.
I'm done, but my question is, on a Friday night, like going back to the parking, like where do we park on a Friday night when we wanna go to the varsity hockey game? My son won't go anywhere but a varsity hockey game on Friday night.
Park in the parking lot.
But Dick's is going to be taking a part of that, correct?
No, they're gonna have parking in front of their building.
That would be like the fire or fire lane.
No.
No, there's space, there's.
I apologize for not bringing the drawing. There's a drawing that shows.
Cassie, the only comment I made about that was that if you had the arena, you had a Dick's Sporting Goods, would just be that the proximity of one to the other, that the arena would just have to be separated parking wise so that both sides, it isn't a thoroughfare. People go around, you just swing your car up against, say, the back door of the arena or the side, which we have enough trouble with the hockey people sometimes, and that was blocking fire.
That would all have to be at the same time.
Just, you know, point that we wouldn't want your shoppers parking out in the well, this thing.
I just want to make a point to your son and to you. As far as I'm aware, Dick's Sporting Goods has not talked to any person in this room.
Correct, that's right.
It is not them that is driving this process. It's somebody who is trying to sell land and put in a building. So, don't be mad at Dick's.
No.
And let me tell you, this gentleman is very aggressive. He's done well at Hardhaven, and he's very aggressive, and he wants to see something new coming to, but we're not just ready to give it up without a commitment, first of all, and more discussion.
I think the takeaway you want to get from the group here, you get the town board here, you have the village board here, and the rec commission, but we're going to make the ultimate decision on whether that land can go or not go. Take a straw poll, see if people are interested in the
You know, there's so much that has to happen before we even get to that.
Why would you, my point all along has been, why would we spend money on assessment of the property if you come back and 10 of us say, we don't want to sell it anyway? Why don't we find out ahead of time if there is interest amongst the boards, consensus, and if there is, go out and do it, go out, get an assessment, and then find and you know, assess the property, and, hey, this is what it's worth, this is what it has to be sold for, and then move on from there. It seems like I would want to put the cart ahead of the horse, right?
Well,
It's like building a house and then going and pouring your cellar.
Correct.
First of all, we're not gonna pay for an appraisal, I would think, because the gentleman that owns the shopping center wants it. If Dick's came to us, these boards, and said we're interested in moving there, then obviously they would be paying for the appraisal, or somebody else, or Mr. Wasser would be paying for it. I don't think we're gonna do that, are we? If he wants to develop that, let him get the appraisal.
He's already said he'll do that.
What do you pay for?
The big difference is, do we want his appraiser or do we want our appraiser?
No.
Wait to see what his is.
Right?
Wait to see what his is
What
first.
we've seen
Yeah.
and what we've read, so on, the assessor of the town of Massena, town and village of Massena, has placed a value on that piece of property based on comparable sales. We've been involved in enough tax certiorieries to know that these guys have assessors on staff. and they base their assessment on comparable sales. If you don't have any, it's very difficult. We have 3 in that same area. So there is some validity to the figure that has been quoted, because other pieces of property in the same area have been sold for pretty much that. So you have that. All right, now, he challenges it, fine.
No, but I mean, okay, which leads to the second question. There's 10 of us here. Would you let it go? Would you let the property go for whatever it was assessed for? I think that 800.
800,000 was.
That's a
Those
number.
were the comparables.
If somebody came and said, here's $800,000, town of Massena, village of Massena, would you let it go? Are you interested? Or are we just stringing people along? I can't stand stringing people along.
I think if we had a letter from Dick's stating that their interest was coming to Massena, that would make me think twice. Probably leaning towards Dick's, to tell you the truth. Because of.
But even like Tim's saying now, I like to think that we're smart enough to be able to do a whole lot of different things at one time. Maybe we're not. $800,000, even if he bought that property and sat there, wasn't developed at all. Can we mitigate the loss of that land for the Recreation Commission with $800,000? And he's gonna pay tax on that property from that year on.
Again, somebody goes
He's
sit
smiling.
down.
So that's, right, that's 800,
We could do some good.
that's 800 times the tax rate of school, town, village.
Correct.
So you're close to $50.
I mean, there's some
That's
phenomenal
$40,000
things that we
more a year that we've got, if nothing's
know.
done
And
with
you can put
that
contingencies.
property.
Let me just, hold on 2 seconds. This young lady had her hand up here, John, if you don't. Yeah, I agree.
My name is Andy Frost, and I live on 12 Clark Street. The thing I would like to input is I keep hearing just the annex. And I have 3 hockey players in my house who use the annex almost at least every other day in the wintertime, Rich can tell you. And they buy lots of french fries and do let my kids out of it.
We shut the lights off, they go.
Yeah. I also own a business in town, I'm right across the street, it's salon down here. I'm never gonna be against a new business coming here. I think it's a great thing for our community. I think as having so many sports kids in my house, I would look forward to them coming here. I think it's really important not to take anything else away from the kids to keep them into a positive environment. I love the fact that my kids can go to that annex and I know that they're safe. Phil's there, Rich is there, I don't have to worry about them. I live on Clark Street. I don't send my kids down to the wooden playground ice because stuff goes down there all the time.
Once again, Andy, there's 2.
Yeah, I wish I could
Versions.
see the picture.
I know,
but
and
yeah, that's the hard thing.
There's
is
2
you can't-
versions, and I should go there.
Go get
No,
it.
you don't need.
Well, and again, the bottom line is, I think all of us want to mitigate whatever effect there is on our Recreation Commission. We gotta find, we can find a way to fix that.
Like I
I
said.
can't believe we.
One of the
with-
versions is
I can't believe we
keeping
can't
everything the
fix that.
same, except for the back.
Yeah. I guess my biggest.
And we're not
I feel
taking
like
away from the back,
Right.
we're putting it somewhere else.
Yeah, and I guess like I feel a lot of people that I hear is the same thing as why can't they just go behind the tractor supply? Like I don't want them to not come,
Mhm.
but I guess I don't understand what the big thing is around instead of going
Well,
behind.
you have to look at the traffic count on Route 37 and the accessibility of the property. I'm not a developer, but am I gonna wanna put a store in the middle of everything with the traffic where thousands of cars go by every day? Do I wanna go out in a field behind tractors
There's all
where
kinds of
there's
stuff.
no amenities? So, I said it a couple weeks ago, and actually I was quoted accurately in the paper. We need to think about this with our head and not our heart. And we don't have the luxury as a community to say no out of the box to anything right now. We have to at least look at things, consider things and discuss it. Are they all gonna be a fit? Probably not. Some of them may be. But we don't have the luxury to say, no, there's no way in hell that's gonna happen here. We cannot afford that anymore. We cannot afford that anymore. And, and I'm gonna defend Michael Wax, as much as I criticized in the paper the other day, was something Francis said. He's not gonna take the money and run, he's been here 27 years. He's improved the Hard Haven, it's better, a hell of a lot better than it was. He needs to do a hell of a lot more work there, in my opinion, too, as I said in the paper the other day as well. But, this isn't a guy who's gonna make a quick buck and leave, I don't think, he's been here 27 years. So, but we don't have the luxury to say no to anything, I don't believe, at this point. And especially if we can get more money than we would need to replace what we have, potentially, if it comes to that. So I like the idea of a straw vote. I'm gonna say, I'm open to discussing anything, including that.
George Dribbling, One Laurel Avenue. My question is, when you vote, are you voting on the back of the arena, or are you voting on the annex? All at one, or is it two separate things? Or who's gonna make that decision?
I'll tell you what, for
And
me.
I think that would clear up a lot for a lot of people.
I think it's clear, listening to some of the folks, that I would say the annex has to stay, my opinion, okay? My version of it, I'd just go to the plat in back of the arena. That's what I would, that's my
Now,
opinion.
this would be presented to Dick's. Are you shaking your hat, Joe, why?
Oh, no, I'm gonna.
Oh, no, this
Right,
John.
anything can move, George.
Yeah, but
Anything can freaking move.
You're
We
absolutely
built a
right.
whole brand new
No,
high school.
You're absolutely right, but if
50
it
years
doesn't
ago.
need to be moved, then why do we have to
If-
do it?
I'm only saying do it if it does need to be done.
Well, who makes that decision?
The planning board, the architects, everybody that would design.
Why
this.
would that have to be included?
Why not? If it's
No,
necessary.
why? Why?
Because it might be necessary to run that
Again,
business.
who's gonna make that decision?
Ultimately, it's gonna be what, we're gonna do the town of Lakeport.
Okay,
The buck stops with us.
Right, it isn't that the property that they're gonna get for free.
that's not, then what, see,
I'm on social media and stuff.
you guys worry, I've been here for 65 years, and I wanna tell you, I lived in the same house and I paid taxes. My father paid taxes, and the taxes are going to go up, bottom line. And if people don't realize that, then they better go someplace
They're
else.
gonna go even higher if we don't do projects like this, like
I
this.
agree, but you don't need, if you just look at the back of the arena as the use.
I don't know what they need. I've been in lots of Dick's stores, and some are really big, and some aren't as big.
But everybody has
something brand new.
You have
We
to,
don't know.
It's not,
All the
that's
only
not,
question
that's
is,
a dumb
that we're
mistake.
answering now is, are we
Especially
gonna
if it's
turn
gotta
our
go to
back?
parking building.
Because we might have to move the arena.
why, you need, no, you
The
wouldn't.
soccer field, you call
No,
it
no,
soccer
no,
field.
no, 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 oh,
It's just
whoa,
grass.
whoa, whoa.
Somebody's trying to say
See,
something.
here you go talking about the
He's
annex.
an asshole.
Are you talking the back of the building or the side?
Side.
Democracy.
Why do we have to take the side?
I don't know.
We pay this.
All I know is that came up in the
We're
drawings.
glad to spend our money.
And the mayor went down to get.
That's all I know. I haven't been involved in any discussions. All I know is I wanna do both. I wanna maintain a good recreation program, and I wanna bring business in the
I agree with bringing the business
And
in.
neither one can veto the other.
But
Yeah, stone the whole arena, let them have all that property, build a new arena.
No.
Unless there's somebody wants to come in with $10 million, that stuff happens.
Dick's sitting there saying, not coming in.
Because that's what the developer.
If I was on my board, I would be doing everything in my power to try to get that in towards the mall, because they have the capability of saving that mall. Your assessment of the mall would go up, you get the tax on it. That would be the place on the board.
It's only coming,
haven't done that?
it's only coming
Well,
up,
how the hell do I know what you
no,
did?
it's only coming up because we,
Okay, one person
it's
talking.
only coming up because we have a developer that made that proposal.
Yeah, but I'm,
That's the only reason it's coming up.
but I'm saying.
We don't have another developer that's come and said, I wanna build one out near the mall.
There's one other thing, though, George, I agree, I'd love to have them at the mall, apparently that's not working out. They won't pay village taxes. So there won't be a benefit tax-wise to the village. Of course, they get all the sales tax anyway, we won't talk
If
about
you can
that.
see this, this is the drawing that the architects had sent, or whoever the developers are for this, for Michael Wax. It shows the two parcels right here. I'm sorry you can't all see this, but there's two parcels, okay? One, parcel number one is 2.5 acres, and parcel number two is 1.4 acres. I would favor this one if we were to do anything.
So you don't need.
If we were to do
You don't
anything.
need both of them?
You don't need both of
Do
them.
they need both of them?
That's what I'm
No.
saying.
How do you know they don't need both of them, Jim? Where's your PD
Because
license?
that's what the
Show me your
architect is
PD
telling us.
license.
No, but he's saying the
That's what
developer
the
said
architect's
that.
the developer's telling us this.
Yeah, I'm not aware.
The developer's telling us that?
That's where I got this
The
thing.
the first one I saw was both of them, so
Yeah.
if this is separate, I wasn't aware of it. That's certainly different than what I, but.
So that's-
If they only need one, it makes things easier.
Exactly.
But,
If they need two, would we be willing to let two go?
yeah,
I'll just go back to the question I asked 10 minutes ago, it's pretty simple. If you get consensus from the boards, it kind of opens it up to our two leaders, Jimmy and Joe, to,
Okay,
you know, to move things along.
I'll bite you first. What do you think?
Yes, we
Okay.
can pick that grounder up.
Coach, be quiet there. You're chairman of the rec, what do you think? I know I don't wanna put you on the hot seat, you're a member of this, it's 3 boards, so.
3 boards, but this board's not gonna have the final say in it. You know where I stand, I want you to come down, I invite you to come down and take a look at, looking at that picture doesn't do a thing. Doesn't do a thing for how it would impact the arena. But again, the 2 boards, the town and village boards are gonna make the ultimate decision, so that's my comment.
Can we, what developer did that? For Mr. Wass's, or
Well,
can it just be
let
something?
Let me give a little,
This is-
let me just explain a little.
Okay, go ahead, Tom. Tom's in this right from the get-go.
I've had a million conversations with this guy, and Jimmy says he's aggressive. Now, he sensed, I believe, because I can't verify this with data, that the original proposal Dick's at the mall, that we were all told was gonna be, I think, April they were gonna start, and it didn't happen. For whatever reason, it didn't happen at St. Lawrence Center. Whether they saw that it was up for auction for $1,750,000 this winter and nobody bid on it. So I don't know, but at some point, the owner of Hardhaven decided he wanted to pursue that, to bring to his plaza. He sent the village, the town, a proposal of, let's raise the arena. That was said, no. Jimmy's, I think, exact words, what is plan B? Plan B then was this drawing that Jimmy had, of trying to locate it, which I believe was a rendering that he put together. Okay, so he needs to be able to go to sell Dick's on a location. He knows they're interested in Massena based on their interest at the mall. Okay, that seems to have waned. I can't say that it's not gonna go there, I can't say that it is gonna go there. We would love to see it go there because, as somebody said here, that would rejuvenate the mall.
Okay, I said that.
Right, so, he's trying to go and market some project to the developers, the real estate people that work with Dick's. I don't believe he's had direct conversations with them yet. I believe he's had conversations with realty people that work for them, but I don't know that he's pitched his proposal that's been bantered about. Okay, so those are the facts as they sit today. The decision that the town and the village have to make is, number one, do they want to do anything with that property? If they don't, it's simple. The village and the town send the correspondence to Mr. Weiss and say, sorry, we're not interested. Or they say, we are interested and we need to establish a price for that property. Okay? And how do you do that? You do it through a formal appraisal process. Okay, so there's the second decision. Third decision is whether it'll even fit in that footprint. Okay? And that's been the planning board and all those folks that would then look at it. So to think that somebody's just gonna come and drop it there, that's not feasible. It's not feasible, and it's not gonna work within the guidelines of the village and the town. So, yes, and the very first conversation I ever had with this guy, never met the guy in my life, he's chewed my, don't write this, Bob.
Tail.
Chewed my backside more than once. He's very aggressive, and again, he has filled Hart Haven, and then he's trying to protect his investment in Hart Haven. And we've all heard about Hart Haven's full, it's generating sales tax dollars for the North Country, for our community. I don't think anybody disputes what a Dick's could do for our community, okay? It's just the logistics of it fall back on these two boards to decide if they want to deal with that piece of property. If they say, no, but we have other property available, we're more than happy to talk about other property, that's fine too. It's just at some point, something has to be communicated back to that individual on how you want to move forward.
Right.
And that's the simple end of it, is there's a piece of property next to the arena. You know, hey, I don't know, this guy could be talking to a lot of other people. I don't know, maybe he's talking to Ponderosa, who knows? You don't know. I mean, you don't know who he's talking to, other than he came to the community and said, I would be interested in acquiring that property because I have this project available, potential. I want to pitch this project.
So it sounds like from the two boards saying that they're not disinterested, they'd be interested.
If they're interested in that property, he called me from Israel this afternoon and said, I'll pay for the appraisal. You know, so it's really up to these two organizations to make that decision. But I understand the emotion in the community. I told him that there was a lot of emotion attached to that property, and it wasn't gonna happen overnight. Am I a proponent of tearing the arena down? Absolutely not.
I don't think anybody here is
interested in that, but you guys have other property available, hey, we'll sell you this other property, Mr. Wax or whoever, and because that's not feasible, but we've got 30 acres over here, if you want to develop it, we'll sell it to you. I mean, it creates a discussion that there's other opportunities, not just to focus on that one little that one little piece.
And I get paid $233.70 a week to make decisions like this. That's my supervisor's salary.
So that's the input I can give you from conversations. I mean, it's really up to the you two organizations as the town and the village, whether you want to, I'm just asking you, if you, whatever you decide, please communicate it to me.
No, we're gonna let you do that.
Thanks, Tom.
He doesn't get paid enough, he didn't fund us much.
I have a question on the parking in front of the arena.
Because ours is not,
Yeah, well, I mean, if we sell this, and if it was the annex, and then he owns the parking lot, that pretty much makes the arena landlocked, which in real estate makes it worth nothing. I mean, if we sell that parcel in the back and the annex, and he owns that parking lot, and then we have 37 on the other side, he's got us, you know, by the throat.
I think we would need.
What's that?
we need to negotiate.
Yeah, we need to negotiate that parking area.
We need a guarantee right away, we need a guarantee parking lot, we need to codify all that stuff, or anything to drive for.
Again, right, deputy planning board has that.
Well,
But we can do it
No.
as part of
We
the
can
sale
make
of the property, to be,
contingencies.
As part of the sale.
Yeah.
and all
That
that
has to
stuff
be
to
developed in a
be
certain period of
put.
time.
Exactly.
I wonder,
Anytime you sell land, you can put all that kind of stuff in.
do we really have an honest and good faith operator? I mean, does he come in and say, we have to want to take care of it? But does he actually come back with a real, you know, solid proposal and said, this is what I want, this is what I'm willing to pay for it? You know, everything now is speculation. This guy came in and said, I got Dick's. You talk to Dick's, and Dick said, we don't know anything about that. Or, I don't even know when I read the paper. But, you know,
I don't want to go unless I get 10 years tax-free, right?
I mean, we're getting into a lot of conversation here with something we don't know if it's ever even gonna happen.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
He just told us what we need to do.
All right, so 3 of us have weighed in. Tim, John, and I.
I am interested.
You're interested, okay. Anybody else in the town board want to weigh in?
You had something to say?
I'm interested in that back lot, not the annex at this time, without future figures. What it would cost to rebuild that, and also a contingency on this parking area
Okay,
that I described.
right. So you're open to the discussion with contingency.
That's what
Yeah.
And Tom?
Everything's got
discussion.
Tom?
Open to discussion, absolutely.
Okay, there you are, we are.
gotta move forward.
Don't look at me, he's the boss.
I'm just saying.
What Sam said, I'm right on that same thing. There's contingencies that would need to come in and
Is that the consensus of this
Yeah,
board?
we'll open up the discussion, you know, if the guy comes with something that's, you know.
You have,
we want to be able to.
Right now,
I
you
guess.
have to determine.
That's what we're saying,
So
Fred.
drop the whole issue down until this guy comes back with something that's a concrete proposal.
Francis, that's what we're all saying.
Yeah.
What Tom said though is that he needs to know that we're interested in discussing whether that
I
land.
mean, if this guy
So
comes.
we gotta do
and
that,
offers
we
it,
gotta do this
if
first.
this guy comes and offers $50,000 for the land,
You're not gonna get it.
don't even blow him off, I mean, it's, you know, it's
Exactly.
crazy.
I think,
But
I
if you want
think
to
he's
come in with
smart
some
enough to know
real figures.
what the properties are worth.
I think after reading tomorrow's paper.
I will
you'll
say
know
this,
what
I will say this, if in fact we get to the point where it has to be commercially appraised, that we use the appraiser of our choice.
Well, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I have two things with that, Jim. We use the appraiser of our choice, he pays for
He
it.
pays for it,
But
that's what I
even
was
if
trying to say.
Say the appraiser comes back tomorrow and says it's only worth $150,000, I'm not taking that for it. Here's what it's worth to me, I don't care what the appraiser says.
Speaking
At
to
least
the-
it's still our property.
Speaking just recently to the appraiser that I would suggest we use, we're not gonna mention his name right now, it's $500,000 plus.
I think so too.
Okay, so, that's where we're at.
And then we have one piece of business.
I love rec
It's
programs.
not to go on the board, so.
That was good.
Before we leave, our board has to go, our board has to.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, are we done with this conversation? I don't wanna cut it off.
You mean
I just wanna say-
your portion of it?
Right, yeah.
Just a final cap with
Proof, right there.
Kenny